You're welcome back. If you're just tuning in, this is still Dream City on your Alabi Radio 103.1 FM. And like I said before that break today, we're talking Agritech strategies for economic growth. Now, it's not big English. It's simple. How can we use agriculture and technology to improve the economy? Simple English. Okay, that is what we're talking about this. We're going to look at some of the issues surrounding agriculture. Now, I know that growing up while in school, you'd ask children, what do you want to become when you grow up? What do you want to become in the future? And you hear, I want to be a doctor, lawyer. Now, after today's interview, I want to be able to establish that children can say, when I grow up, I want to become a farmer. But before then, let's get to meet our guest. So my guest is the visionary and co-founder, Corporate Farmers International Limited. He started his career with Capital Bangkok PLC as an audit trainee and later worked with technology company System Specs as part of the strategy team that developed as an audit trainee and later worked, as part of the strategy team that developed Remita TSA, currently used by the federal government of Nigeria. His passion for agriculture started over 20 years ago when he created a dynamic way of how youth can begin to see agriculture differently using the power of digitalization from creating an award-winning blog called the Corporate Farmers Blog, which has now transformed into a multi-million-naira company called Corporate Farmers International, with its co-founder, directors, partners, and stakeholders across Nigeria and Africa. With its professional experience, the company has been able to create innovative platforms like Agri Social Media Week, Agri Campus Store, Concept and Agri Reality TV Show, and Agri Superhero, Agri e-learning platforms, animation projects on agriculture for kids, and has worked with top Honorable Commissioner for Agriculture and ministers and professionals in industry to develop plans for the future of agriculture in Nigeria, especially as it affects the youth. He is the author of Rise of Digital Agriculture, distributed across 5 different countries in the world, and has also been presented to the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Professor Yemi Osibajo. My guest is currently the Programs Director for the Nigerian Youth Connect to Work project with Cellulant and MasterCard Foundation. On the show today, I have with me Akin Alabi. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Comfort. Good morning.
Good to have you here.
It's actually an honor to be here too. Good morning. Thank you very much.
Okay, now the thing is, your profile has a lot of agritech. What is it with you about agriculture? Tell me, why do you like agriculture so much?
Okay, basically the foundation for me started years back, actually when I was still a very young boy with my grandfather. He has a cocoa farm.
Okay.
That's in Ilishon. Ilishon is in Ogun State. So most times in holidays, we go to his cocoa farm. You know, he holds the grandchildren by the hand. So we go to his cocoa farm so he talks to us. I said, like, look, this is the future. He encourages us, to be part of the whole, initiative. But then I wasn't really into it. Not until later, after my NYSC. And I knew that I now looked across the entire sector of the economy and I asked myself simple questions. I said, we have challenges basically called unemployment. Which sector can actually accommodate the youth in Nigeria today? And I looked across, I did my research, R&D, and I said, look, it's only agri because it has a wide value chain which you can actually tap into and create wealth out of it. So that was the genesis for me about agriculture. And ever since then, I created the Blog Sport. And from there, we transformed into a company with my co-founder, Prince Ede Ajayi. And from there, it's been amazing. A company of over 13 years. And it's quite amazing. I will thank God for the growth. Year by year, it's been quite interesting. But basically for me, the passion has been to encourage agripreneurs to change the narrative of how agriculture is being today, and also ensuring that federal government could establish more private sectors and also encourage more stakeholders to be a part of the entire ecosystem. And a niche where I've taken particularly for myself is the technology part of agriculture, because that is the most interesting part, and that's the bit where you find young folks.
That is where we're all coming into.
Exactly. We're part of this today.
We'll get to that. We'll get there. Then the thing is, we hear all the time people say, "Oh, agriculture is the way forward. Yeah. Agriculture is the way forward."
Yeah.
And you also mentioned it not quite long, when you started. Yeah. So what do people mean when they say Agritech is the way forward or agriculture is the way forward? What exactly do they mean?
Okay, let me break it down. When you say agriculture is the way forward, it's more or less like saying agriculture is a new oil. Now, when you say the new oil, means that it's a new frontier for business, not only in Nigeria, but the world at large. Today, the world economy, from the EU to the USA, Asia, and the likes, solely depend on the growth of agriculture. A country that fails to develop its agri-system will definitely fails across all of the sector. Reason because food is essential to man.
Yeah.
A country that is hungry definitely will lack productivity. And when there's no productivity, there's no growth. And everything still boils down to agriculture. So it centers around where you say agriculture definitely is the oil. Agriculture is the new frontier. And definitely business across agriculture is the only value chain or the sector today that can even help government to come out of the rate of unemployment today in Nigeria and Africa at large. So that shows how important agriculture is to the global economy. And conferences across the world today talks about the importance on why they need to invest more in agriculture and develop the agri sector across the entire value chain.
Now, listeners at home, one interesting thing about this, my guest, is that it feels as if the blood of agriculture is running in his veins. The way he's sounding, these gesticulations and everything, it's like agriculture, like you live for agriculture.
Definitely, yeah. Yes.
Okay, so now Agritech, explaining Agritech it sounds very interesting.
Yeah.
It sounds fun in the ears.
Yeah.
But for individuals who are new, who want to, go into this sector,
Yeah.
where do they start from?
Okay, thank you very much. Now, what I tell young folks is this. I said, if you want to play across the entire agri ecosystem, not everybody I do expect to go and till the ground. Because when you talk about agriculture, the first thing that comes to the mind of young people is tilling the ground, farming. That is the first ideology that comes to your mind. But basically, agri and its culture, it definitely encompasses just farm. Farming is just a bit of the entire value chain, and that's the production part of it. But agri and its culture is embedded in so many things. Then you can begin to take a niche which you are passionate about. For example, let me just speak this current platform we are on is media, and there is a passion or there is a niche in the sector called agric media and communications. We have students and young folks that are doing very well today within the agri communications and PR sector.
I'm just hearing about that.
No, they are. Trust me, there is. I could make reference to certain folks that I know that are doing amazingly well. I have one of my good fine girls called Joy Labaran. She has a program called Agribusiness Weekend on YouTube. We have Yewande Kazim, a lot of them, and lots of young agripreneurs in institutions. They are doing very well today across the agri media and PR sector. That is a niche that we need to begin to tap into. That is one sector. Now, we also have the creative part of agriculture. What does that mean? Now, today, if you look at world organizations, likes of the FAOs, the USAIDs, AFDBs, IITAs, now they make agriculture so much creative, whereby you can use documentaries, videographies, photographies, to talk about what a farmer is doing on the field. This is the creative and the PR or communication part of agriculture. That is one bit. Now we have the technology part of it. And that is very large. That is very, very large. Today we have tons of agri-tech firms in the world that have used technology to change the perspective and narrative of agri today in the world. Now we have drone that are doing a lot of things with drone technology. That definitely is changing narratives. It means that with drones, job you can do on the field for like 6 hours. With drone technology, you can do it for just 30-45 minutes and you're done.
True.
By spraying, your crops and all that across the entire field. Within a couple of hours, you're done. Then we have likes of AI, artificial intelligence, to check certain things, on the field. I need to know what is the crop rotation on my current field? What is the tenacity of the soil productivity after my harvest? These are things that technology has been able to do in helping build the agri sector. And that is it. Then the most paramount part, or the one that is more visible, used by most folks, is the use of social media. With social media, you can do a lot, in agriculture. You can tell people what you're doing on the field. You can market your productivity. It's all broad, so it's big.
let's look at what you do with corporate farmers.
Okay.
When I heard the word corporate farmer, it sounded to me like a farmer with suits dressed up.
Okay.
Tell us about what you do at corporate
Okay,
farmers.
basically at corporate farmers, we have four major business models. Number one, we have the Agritech part of it. So we have a platform called CFI e-learning academy that was created to bridge the gap between education and agriculture and technology. That is that. Then we also have what we call the Agric Media platform. So today we have a platform that is across the entire world that speaks about agriculture from different parts of the country. Talks about what they're doing today in agriculture in USA, in UK, in Australia, Japan, and all that, and bring them on the platform so that even as I'm here in Nigeria, I could learn and develop my own skills in the business of agriculture. That is two. Then we also have the capacity and training part of the company. So we go across all campuses to train folks on what they need to know and change their orientation about the business of agriculture. And also one of our major projects that I don't joke with is our farm management project. So it means that we manage farms for clients from cultivation to harvest and to market.
Wow.
So that is quite huge for us. And today we have large farms across the country that we're managing, being Kebbi, Lagos, Kwara, Oyo, Ibadan, and name it. And even today, one of our biggest and great farms that I'm very proud of today is J6 Farms in Kwara State. That has a massive 200 hectares with a lot of crops, both arable crops and cash crops on it. And I'm so excited about agriculture as a whole because it's bringing the money and it's paying the bills. That is the end game. And if it's paying the bills and bringing the money, then definitely you need to put in more energy and also create a mindset that will attract more investors and also more youth to see the business part of it and the wealth part of the agricultural sector.
Interesting. Listeners at home, the numbers to call 08133 038749, or you can call 08020933638. We'll go for this quick break. I'm going to play something by Cobams and Simi. It's called With Plenty. I'll be back after this break. Stick around. Okay, all done.
Thanks.
Just give me a sec. Let me confirm that everything is all okay from production.
Okay, I'll be answering questions, yeah?
Yes. No. Just listen, enjoy the music. I'll be back.
Okay.
If you see person and come home, rejoice with them. If they ask you what's going on, take your offense. See this life that's all my time, your time they come becomes. No be only you keep Jesus. We plenty for them.
Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, this is still Dream City on Alabi Radio 103.1 FM, and I still have my guest Akin Alabi here on the show, and we have been talking Agritech strategies for economic growth. the phone numbers are open. Should you have questions, you want to make comments, or you know my guest and you want to, just shout out to him or say hi to him, feel free to call the phone numbers 08133038749, or you can call 080-209-33638. Those are the numbers to call. So feel free to call in and be part of the show. I'll be here to take your calls, your comments, your questions, and the likes. Now, Mr. Akin, I'm going to ask you this very tricky question. I call it tricky because I don't know, but let me just ask it.
All right.
These days, we see that there's a rise, there's an increase in the cost of food. Could it be as a result of the infusion of technology into agriculture? That is why there's like a continuous increase in the prices of food.
Actually, that's a very tricky one question.
Yes.
Actually, no. No. You see, the reason why we're having a consistent increase in the rise of commodities, I won't say food and commodities across the value chain, is because we'll take it from the first angle, that is security.
Yeah.
Today, the level of security in the nation is quite not encouraging. And the reason is this. Most of our farmers, basically in the northern part of the country, have migrated from their farms to another destination. Reason because of banditries and the huge rates of insecurity across the land. And we can't take it away from the north. The high level of agriculture still lies on the northern part of the country. I'm going to give a typical example of what happened to us last year. Last year, we're far away in Niger State. We're doing maize, we're doing sorghum, and we're also doing rice. We can't go back to Niger again this year. Reason because of the area which we're farming is no more secured for our farmers. So it means that we need to leave that portion and source for another area to farm. Now, that means food coming out from that place is a zero.
Yeah.
So take it like that across several parts of the country that is being affected via banditry or insecurity and kidnappings and all that. These are the simple reasons why food is high. It's a demand and supply. Population keep increasing, but definitely the shortage of food is getting lower. And also there's a case of what we call post-harvest loss. We also need more private sectors in the economy, whereby most of our produce that is being harvested can have a proper storage systems. When this is done, then even if I'm farming or I'm harvesting on a particular day, I can store effectively my produce that will still meet the next harvest season without the fear of it getting spoiled or getting damaged, i.e. via transportation or any other means. So these are two major factors that are causing the increase in the price of commodities today in Nigeria. And the only reason is when FG looks deeply into what are the causes of this insecurity, tackle it down, support the farmers, help the farmers, so that we can begin to produce more. Because a farmer cannot produce when there is level of insecurity. It can happen. And these are the things that we need to look into, and it's affecting the life of farmers today across Nigeria at large.
Okay, now agriculture represents about 25% or thereabouts of the GDP, but we still can't feed ourselves as a nation. What do you think is the problem?
The fundamental problem is what I called a reorientation problem. Now, agriculture as it is so dynamic that a home that does not eat in a day definitely might die of hunger. Now, if you look at other European countries, I keep emphasizing, reason because if you look at European countries or likes of other developed countries, there is a system whereby if you have a home, there is always a small garden that you need to have, no matter how little you could provide for that. That comes in either vegetables, fruits, and all that.
Shout out to my mom.
But in the Nigerian factor and the Nigerian hustle, a man that works 8 to 5 days in a week, weekends, traffic included, how will be able to do that? Those are simple factors that we do not realize. but are the major reasons that are causing this. But again, if we can begin to orientate ourselves and come up with strategies like feed the nation, feed a home, feed yourself, then even within your small garden, you can plant small vegetables. I'm going to give you a simple example. My 7-year-old son, Sean, I gave him a task to plant beans in the house. And today he has planted beans successfully. So every morning we go there, we check the beans, the growth, and he's excited. So I did that also for my little daughter. We planted maize sometimes last year in our little compound, and they were happy to even share with neighbors. So these are the things that we need to begin to orientate our little kids. Let it be a part of their lifestyle. That look, food is essential, and the only way it can help the country is by them understanding where it's coming from. And that is very fundamental. And today we have young folks, even today, you'll be surprised that when you meet, I've met a 5-year-old boy that tells me that chicken comes out from our mother freezer. And you'll be shocked, yes. You'll be amazed. And it's not his fault though. Reason because every Saturday or every, he sees the mother goes to the freezer and picks the chicken out. So he doesn't understand that it's actually coming from a poultry farm that supplies the market where the mother now buys it from. Those are the simple fundamental intricacies that are affecting. So we need to understand this and ensure that yes, agric is a culture, it's a business, it's a science, and also an art. So it's a complete fundamental ecosystem that helps the economy of a nation.
Okay, now it is said that Africa's agricultural sector is going to become $1 trillion company or industry by 2030.
Yeah.
Is that possible?
Now, no, it's actually possible, and it's beginning to change narrative. When Akin Additional said that a couple of years back, you know what he was saying, and the reason is this: if you look at the number of graduates, let me use graduates that's actually studying agriculture, as a course across our campuses, they are quite large. Now, first of all, the first strategy is he has been able to identify the level of those studying agriculture across the entire sphere of our campuses.
Sure.
But the strategy is, how can we now change this mindset and convert it into a wealth creation programs? Create platforms whereby even after their NYC or school, there is available jobs across the ecosystem that can absorb these young folks.
Yeah.
That we do not have now. But definitely as we go on, for example, we are corporate farmers, we have created several platforms today in Nigeria that has been able to absorb more than 50,000 youth across the country in a program called Connect to Work that we did, sometimes back. And we've been able to aggregate about 5,000 youth across the country to help them identify which of the value chain they want to play into, which of the value chain they can begin to create wealth into. And among the data we've been able to generate, successfully, we've been able to train and also put to field over 20,000 youths today in Nigeria, and are doing very well across the production centers. Some are doing rice, some are doing vegetables, some are doing tomatoes, and all that. These simple trick-cases affect the GDP and also help grow the GDP at large. If you look at most times when the economy is going into recession, it's agriculture that helps stabilize the economy, and that is very paramount. Reason is because we're having new influx into the sector, though it might not be showing rapidly because of the fact that, again, insecurity is affecting us, but we're having new influx that are actually helping to also grow the economy.
Now, you've mentioned tertiary institutions that, students, those who are studying agriculture, but do you think that our institutions are well equipped to even train people to become, to go into agriculture?
That's a very fundamental question. Today, shout out to all the lecturers, professors, deans, and emeritus professors today across the campuses. But one thing is still clear. Agriculture has gone beyond the theoreticals.
Yeah.
Way back. It's gone beyond theoreticals. It's more about understanding the practicals and converting those practicals to wealth. Those are fundamental things that we need to understand across our campuses. Yes, there are programs across the campuses like the farm practice year that campus does. We have some other fundamental courses, but again, there is need to expose the young agripreneurs, the young farmers in our campuses to what is actually happening on the field. Let them understand the reason why they need to start implementing technology in the field. The reason why they need to start saying, okay, if I'm producing A, I can actually generate XYZ from the A I'm producing. Then if I'm producing A, where is the market for my A even after harvest? Those are simple fundamental things that we do not have currently across our campuses, because we still believe it's all about the theory. Let me go there, have my grades, and move out. But definitely at the end of the game, end of the day, we need to ensure that these students, or young agropreneurs I call them, being able to convert what they've learned in school into a wealth creation platforms that will generate wealth and also help increase GDP of the nation at every point in time.
Okay, interesting. Listeners at home, remember the phone lines are open. If you have questions, you want to make comments, you know my guest, you want to shout out to him, feel free to call. The numbers again are 08133038749, or you can call 080-209-33638, and I'll be here to take your call. So feel free to call. Now, like I said before the beginning, before we started the interview, that sometimes in school we have children claiming to want to be other things and not agriculture. So how do you think that we can repackage agriculture in such a way that a child can dress like a farmer to school one day in when they do role play and say, oh, I want to be a farmer?
Yes. No. Thank you again for that question. Let me use my own practical example for when I was growing up. When I was growing up, I actually want to be a pilot. That was what I told myself when I was growing up. So you'll be shocked that after that, I went to an institution. I studied insurance as my first course. That was in Lagos State Polytechnic.
I bet all your farms have insurance.
Then after that, I studied accountancy before I had my MBA. Then I never studied agriculture. I'm just running my master's program now in agriculture from next year. But because I never had that fundamental idea of agriculture, it grew with a passion. That was the first thing that started with about 20 years ago. Was the passion that built me into where I am today. So Agric in me was about the passion that's been able to convert itself into wealth. Now, for every young minds or children or kids that want to go into the field, the first thing I tell them is, look, identify the passion of the child. What does he want to do? Do you think what he wants to do actually will help grow the agri sector? How can we encourage more young folks to even go into the field of agriculture? It's about changing the narrative completely. Today we still have a challenge. If you look at most of the pictures around that talk about agriculture, you see a wretched, old, tattered man or woman carrying and cutlass,
looking like a farmer,
looking haggard and all that. That is the impression that they've been creating in our own head when we're growing up. We are changing that narrative now and let them see agriculture is actually beautiful, it's interesting, and it's wealthy. But we need to start from changing that mindset first of all. Let them see the beauty part of agriculture. And that is why when you see other countries in the EU, you see them with how agriculture is done with technology that would encourage the little kids to go on the farm and begin to even harvest and cultivate, helping their parents. Because they've understand that, look, this is where the money is coming from. But when you're showing the kids of a tattered man, haggard with and cutlass, clothes torn, with slippers, definitely that child will not want to go into that sector.
What picture do you have in your head for who a farmer should be?
A farmer should be, the picture I have in my head is the same picture that you see likes of Genevieve, likes of our celebrities have. That is the picture I have in my head. And that is why you see... Yeah, that is... The richest man today is a farmer. Yes, because there's no successful man today that have not ventured in the business of agriculture. Is it Bill Gates? Name them. Most of the footballers we have today across the world have one farm or the other in their country homes. They have them. Most of our even celebrities today in Nigeria are beginning to understand agriculture, going into the value chain. Might not be productivity as a whole, but tapping into some angles across the value chain. So these are simple things that will attract younger folks. So I want to see myself in front of magazines, Ovation magazines or all these flashy magazines, Time magazines, and talk about agriculture. Just like you have a celebrity talk about agriculture too. I want to be there and also show the face of agriculture and say, yes, we are changing the narrative, changing the perspective to attract younger generation and see that agriculture is beautiful and use the word sexy for other generations to get involved in.
Interesting. Agriculture must be sexy.
Definitely.
Okay, now there's this issue of importation, and I see that in not just the agricultural sector, in a couple of other sectors. People will tell you, "Oh, I prefer imported products." Sometimes even in agriculture, people import chicken, they import turkey, and all of that. There's a whole lot of. So the question is, how can our own products stand at par with these other products that we import from other countries?
Thank you very much. It's all about two things. It's all about quality and processing. Nigeria as an economy or as a nation, needs to understand that in terms of quality, we need to be able to compete with other international. Trust me, we are doing amazingly well. I'm going to give you an instance. I was fortunate to be a part of a delegation that went to Dubai sometimes back, and most of the product that we produce here in the country is bought from us in raw materials. It's been taken over to other neighboring countries, repackaged, and put their brand or the country name there and taken to other countries to sell. But if we trick it down to know where the fundamental raw material came from, you'll find out it's still Nigeria. That's all coming from. Now, the only problem was that we do not have enough production companies that can actually transform this into usable goods or items, productivity. That is why we are encouraging, even as we're going to the agricultural venture, try and also engage in the production part of it. Reprocess it into a finished value chain. Don't just sell your produce in raw. Try and also convert that into another value chain that you can actually export to other neighboring countries. Unless it just be exploited, and people will have the mindset that those products actually come in from other foreign countries. It's just an example of chocolate. Most of the cocoa beans is from Africa.
Yeah.
So it's taken down to the UK, US to refine and reprocess and bring back again to Africa for us to buy in dollars. So that is the challenge currently facing the agri sector. Africa entrepreneurs, Africa investors need to set up factories, industries, and that is why likes of AFDB are always clamoring of what we call agro-industrialization. Africa needs to build industries that will help productivity and trickle down into agriculture. And that is the gap that exists between importation of our agricultural products at the moment.
Okay, so what are some of the efforts made to bridge the gap between the educated farmers and the uneducated farmers? Because sometimes you see the uneducated farmers, you tell them to use certain equipment or certain chemicals, they'll tell you, no, this is how I've been doing it since the days of my forefathers, I can't change and all of that. So what is being done to bridge this gap?
Trust me, we face such cases. Even currently, we're still facing such cases. There is still an age gap in the agri sector. The active farmers, are still within the age of 60 and above. That's from 62.
Yeah.
Then we have the young farmers from the age of likes of 40 downwards. The younger farmers tend to bring in technology and adaptive measures to help produce faster and move faster on the farm. But the challenge we have about the old farmers, which are they very still much active farmers, is because the educational part of agriculture is still very wide. You see, for a farmer that has been doing something consistently over the years and is working out for him, that if I put my seed to the ground, it will grow. And water it will grow. Quite alright, it will grow. But what are other things that can actually add to it that makes it grow faster and give you a better yield at the end of the day? For example, if I'm growing a corn, you understand, a seed of corn, you understand, I put it in the soil, and I'm using a premium seed, the same seed, put it in the same soil, and my premium seed is giving me about 3-4 cobs, and your seed is giving me about just 1 cob. There is a difference. Reason because I'm using a premium seed that is well developed to fit into any geographical zone or any area. But your own seed can only fit in and give you a result. And you'll be thinking that you are actually harvesting at a greater yield, but at which you can actually do more with a premium seed. That is still the educational gap we're facing today across our farmers. But anyway, we are trying to build in extension services. Extension help close the gap, provide more knowledge both on the field and off field to farmers to understand what they need to do to produce more and to harvest more. And those are things that today we are working on with our CFR e-Learning Academy to bring in farmers and also to encourage old farmers to understand agriculture is beautiful and we can do it more and achieve better results.
Okay, now there's another concern for farming. They tell you, oh, it's capital intensive. And before now, we used to hear that, oh, one of the major challenges with the agricultural sector, with farmers, is the fact that they usually do not have access to loans.
Yeah.
Banks really won't give them loans. So the question is, has that changed now? Do farmers now, can they walk into the bank and, they are giving loans?
Now, you see, that also is a fundamental question. There is no business you do today in the world where you can just walk into the bank and say, come and give me loan. Nobody's going to give you loan. But both private sector and also governments, I must give it to the federal government. They've tried a lot. They've tried in terms of developing the agri sector, as I say. But the issue of insecurity is not first showing the results. That's the candid truth.
Yeah.
That's the candid truth. We have several programs, platforms today that supporting farmers in terms of subvention loans and all that. But this is what I'm going to say. For any farmer that want to start either newly or you're currently in the value chain, if you want to start newly into the value chain, ensure you have some level of capital first to start. Start small. When you start small, then you can actually grow with time. Okay. This is how it works. There are strategies to it. When you start small, with let's say 50,000 naira, you can start a small veg farm. Around, just loan the land, somewhere you get a very good land, start with that. Now, if you start with that and you're successful for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and you can actually apply to a commercial bank and say, this is what I've been doing for the past couple of years. And they've seen the success story of your market, most importantly, your market and your produce. Definitely, your bankers, if they are not greedy, they would support you. And that is why today, I have my own farmers bank. I can't mention the brand here, but I have my own farmers bank today that supports farmers across the country. And they are open for partnership. Reason
so
because...
Does the company help farmers who are looking for loan?
Oh yes,
get loan
definitely. Even by December, we're having a workshop coming up very soon. It's all about financing the agri sector. We're trying to position farmers for the next farming season. And that workshop is going to come up in December 2nd. It's all about helping farmers to say, okay, this is what I want to do next year. Where can I get funds from? And we have banks that are supporting this project. We also have development partners that are supporting this project. That's coming up December 2nd. And the idea is to position our farmers, both new farmers or old farmers, and say, look, you can get money from here, but have this in place. It's easier for you to start with this. And that has been a gap, basically, because the minds we have is that banks does not support. But definitely you have what it takes for your bank to support your funding. Those are simple things you also need to understand. And which bank are you working with or are you banking with? Not all banks support the agri sector, but there are few ones who do and will give you the well without help support to grow your ventures today. And one of the things also working is to also raise funds via the capital markets, to help farmers provide more funds and also help develop the economy, majorly funding the agri sector. And that has been a gap today in Nigeria. How the farmer gets funds? How do they seek funds? Where exactly the funds? Is it via grant? Is it via loan? Where is the funds? These are questions we're also going to answer in our forthcoming workshop to see how best you can access some of these funds easily for you.
Now, the way you're sounding, it seems like I'm looking at the next Minister of Agriculture. But let me throw this question to you. If you were made the Minister of Agriculture, what would you do differently?
Oh my! You see, if I make the Minister of Agriculture today in Nigeria, the first point of agenda that will ensure I bring in place is to ensure that our agile, working Nigerian youth find a value chain across the agri-ecosystem. With that, we now use that strategy to build the economy. Not all would go into production. Not all would till the ground. There are some that want to venture into a particular value chain. What are the platforms they're going to provide for them to be successful in those platforms? When likes of me started, there was nobody to support. There was no platform that I started with. I started reading blogs from every part of the country, getting knowledge to get it from all part of the country, put that together, and that over time helped me to become where I am today. So if that happens, the first thing is to concentrate more on the youth part, develop it, and ensure that they are ready to fill in the gap for the next generation of farmers. And that is critical for the growth of any economy.
Thank you. When that time comes, remember that there's one lady and you like
Definitely. Definitely.
But well done.
Thank you.
And great job that you're doing. And
Thank
I wish
you.
you all the best with your team.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much also for coming on the show today. I had a good time talking to you, and
It's an
I
honor.
can actually feel the passion in you. Like.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Listeners, I hope you enjoyed the show today, and I hope you picked a thing or two from our interview.
Yeah.
Shout out to our quiz, those people who called in during the quiz segment, and shout out most especially to Wale, who answered 3-4 questions correctly. You get your airtime very, very soon. Until I come away again next week Saturday, do have a beautiful weekend, and remember, dreams are just dreams without action.
Yeah.
Find your niche, find that thing you're good at, and put some work to it, put action to it, and you will still have to very soon as I talk to you about that particular dream. You have a beautiful weekend, and from Comfort, I'm saying bye and have a great weekend. Yeah, thank you. That was intense.
Yeah. Thank you very much. It's actually an honor to be here with you.
Just hold on, I'll call you.
Okay.
Let's finish our song. Okay. So help me with my feedback form.
Oh, great. It's awesome. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Bye.